What we're going to do now is we're going to take that specimen that I was using to go through the key by Knoble or Noble. I say Knoble because when I was on active duty in the Marine Corps back during the Desert Storm thing, I was actually on active duty out in California, at a place called El Toro. It was about halfway between Los Angeles and San Diego. It was at Irvine, coincidentally, at Irvine. But my roommate there, I was even not my roommate, but one of our suite mates in the room adjacent. His last name was spelled the same way, and he pronounced it Knoble. So that's how I pronounced the name of the guy who did the plant key I was using. But anyway, I digress. So the plant that I used when we were looking at that key and how it, because it uses vegetation characteristics, and because vegetation characteristics are so variable, they're not always reliable when trying to identify species. That specimen. So what we're going to do here in the first one of these Sedge lab videos is we're going to basically work through trying to figure out what the actual species was. So we have to first figure out the genus, and then we can figure out the species of that particular specimen that we had. And so that's what we're going to do today. So a microscope setup, I have some pages that I scanned out of the Godfrey and Wooten key that we're going to work through and try to figure out what this thing is. So again, if you'll recall, I had this plastic bag that had the inflorescence in here, and this stuff, seriously, I've opened it up and it's already getting all over my little office here. But anyway, I pulled some out. I pulled out 3 of these individual little spikelets, but the little ball-looking things that are on here. So I pulled 3 of these off, and I have them under the microscope for us to look at. All right, I'm going to zip this back up before we go any further, because, I mean, seriously, it's all over my desk and everything already. Now it's going to be on the floor. I have to run the vacuum cleaner. Anyway, so what we're going to do is I have a page here from the Cyperaceae. Remember we figured out that this was in the Cyperaceae. We went not from the Knoble key, but actually from the Godfrey and Wooten. We went through step by step through a couple of pages there, and we figured out this is in the Sedge family, the Cyperaceae. And so if we look here at the key to the Sedge family, the Cyperaceae, and it's, again, this is out of the Godfrey Wooten key, the Godfrey Wooten 1979. By the way, yeah, Gene Wooten was at University of Southern Mississippi a long time ago. And so we go through here and we look at step 1, the achene, and so that's what the things that look like seeds in there actually are achenes. So it's an entire fruit, all right? So an achene, A-C-H-E-N-E. The achene is born within a sac, and this sac is called the perigenium, all right? The sac is closed except for a terminal orifice through which the style or stigma protrudes. And if it had that, it would be in the genus Carex. So what we can do is we can actually pull some of these up on the microscope and have a look. And so this is what those little fuzzy balls that were all attached in that giant fuzzy mess, this is what they look like. And I hope I don't know sign language, so if I said something in sign language just now, I did not mean to. Anyway, I talk with my hands a lot. So this is what those things look like under the section scope. And so you can see right there is one of the achenes sticking out here. There's one right there. There's one on the other side, back over there. There's one right there. It's trying to catch my probe as I come across. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to try and grab one of these and pull it out of here. So if I can grab one, it's going to be a challenge just to get one because everything wants to stick together in here. Trying. Wow, this stuff. It's really light, it's really dry, and everything is really trying its best to stick together. I'm going to go. Need a surgeon's assistant. Hand me the probe. Probe, please. Or however they call for it. I'm not that kind of doctor. All right, so I'm going to try and pull that one over because it's darker. There's more contrast. It'll be easier to see that one. So let's see if we can zoom in here. Oh, and it's all fuzzy. It's like a dream. All right, so back in focus. We're going to try this again. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm trying to do both. Now I got both hands. I'm doing the zoom and the focus at the same time so nobody gets too terribly dizzy from what I'm doing here. Okay. All right, so we've zoomed in a good bit. I mean, we could go farther, I guess, with the zoom. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, if this is the first time you've looked at one of these, you can't necessarily tell, hey, is that in a sac or is that not in a sac? Maybe you don't know. But we can zoom in some more. We can zoom in, getting pretty close to my max zoom on this thing. And it gets to the point where it's difficult to focus if you go too far. But here we go. And again, so this is two achenes right here. Let's see if I can drag this over. Oh, that's good right there. It'll stay. All right, great. Okay, so there's one right here is one achene, and it is not in a sac. There's no sac enclosing this thing. And when asked, is it within a sac? That would make it carex. The answer is no, it is not in a sac. All right, so let me see. We can go back over here and see what's next. And like I mentioned when I was going through the key thing, so the first one is the achene is in a sac. The second option, the achene is not in a sac. Okay, so that's what we have. It's not in a sac. All right, the achene has a white or whitish bony crustaceous hard outer covering, not tubercled at the summit. All right, does it have a white, hard, bony covering? We can look at this. I'm pretty comfortable saying there is no white, hard, bony outer covering on this achene. All right. So with the white, the achene, not white or whitish. Okay. And then one of the things in here is a scleria. We have a really common species in Mississippi called Scleria elegantha. And it does, when you pull the achene out, it really is white. It looks like a little white. It looks like a little white achene inside there, but it's definitely white. You can look at it and you can tell it is white. So very comfortable saying, no, this is not white. Okay. So we come in here, the next one, perianth of 3 stalked scale-like or paddle-like structures. Okay. Or the other option is a perianth of bristles or plumose structure. So plumose is like a plume, kind of feather-like, really loosely hairy. So we want to look is the perianth, and remember perianth is peri means around, anth means anthers. So it's the part around the reproductive structures. Is it 3 stalked scale-like or paddle-like structures, or is it bristles or plume-like structures? So we go back over here and look at the structures. So the reproductive parts would be what makes up the fruit. Okay. So the achene, and then outside that, attached here, are these structures. And A, there are more than 3, and B, they do not look petal-like, but they definitely look hair-like or plume-like in nature. So pretty comfortable that we need to be going down this second number 4 here. Okay, so the base of the style enlarged, becoming hard and persisting at the summit of the achene as a tubercle, or the style base, if it is enlarged, it's not persist. So the base of the style, is it enlarged? So we come over here. So the style would have come from this little tip right here. It would have come up here and would have had the stigmas on the top of it. The stigmas are the structures that the pollen sticks to. The stigma are sticky, kind of the way I remember it and the way I teach it in class. So they would have come up here. So this is the base of the style, and really does not appear to me to be really enlarged on this akene. So what we're on number 5. Style base enlarged or style base not enlarged, or if it is, it's not persisting on the akene as a tubercle, and the base of the style was still kind of attached there. So I think I'm pretty comfortable being here in the second number 5. So now we're looking at number 11. So there was 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 were up here, and now we're on number 11. Okay, the scales of the spikelet disticus, that is, they're 2 ranked. Okay, remember when I was talking about grasses had 2 ranked leaves, means one comes out on one side and the other comes out on the other side. They either could be opposite or they could be alternating with one another. An example, a really good example of a genus in the Cyperaceae that does this is number 4 down here, Cyperus. So things like Cyperus iria is a really common kind of invasive annual that we see in disturbed wetlands. A lot of times we see it, I think, even planted as waterfowl food and that sort of thing. But the Cyperus have that. They're 2 ranked. The spikelet is 2 ranked with the akenes coming off somewhat opposite, but on opposite sides from one another on the rachis or the stem of that spikelet. That's not what this thing did. If you'll remember, it almost looked like an insanely fuzzy pine cone. So it was kind of round, maybe spirally arranged or something like that. It's not 2 ranked. So it's not going to be in this first number of 11, but it's going to be down in the second one. So the scales of the spikelet spirally imbricate. Imbricate is where they're sort of nested within one another as you go along, which is what they were on this. And I guess we could go back over there and just, again, have a look at that. I'll zoom back out and have to refocus this and pull one of these things over again, just as a reminder of what this looked like. Maybe. All right, so there you can kind of see, and it's kind of difficult to see in here 3-dimensionally, but you can see this thing. They're, like I was saying, they're kind of like a, well, I say giant. They're giant when you zoom in on them. Sort of like a giant fuzzy pine cone. Definitely not 2 ranked. So I'll pull this back out of the way and probably have lost the ones that we were using, but that's okay. I say lost them, but they're all still here. They're all tangled up with one another. If I can get that to fall. These things just, I mean, they want to do what they want to do, right? See that? And then they jump at the last second when I'm trying to pull this away. Yeah. Drop. All right, great, perfect. That's almost in a perfect place. All right, so anyway, what did we say? 11. Okay, so were they 2 ranked or were they not 2 ranked? Spirally imbricate, and that's what they were. Okay, flowers 1 or 2 in each spikelet. I mean, we just showed you over there were a ton of them in the individual spikelet. So that one giant fuzzy pine cone looking thing was a spikelet. Okay, so it's not this one, it's going to be the second one. Spikelets several to many flowered. Yes. Okay, and we're narrowing it down. We have only 4 options here. So we're getting really close on this. So the spikelets are several to many flowered. Yes. Okay, number 17. Okay, the scale of the spikelet with 1 or 2 bractlets above it and subtending the akene. Okay. Or scales of the spikelet without these bractlets. So the scale of the spikelet with 1 or 2 bractlets above it, subtending the akene. And there are 1 or 2. Well, it didn't have that. All right. I'm just going to, spoiler alert, it didn't have that. Okay. So it's in the second 17 here. Scales of the spikelet without the bractlets within it. Okay. And now the Perianth Bristles, absent or present? What do you think? Yeah, they're definitely present. So that tells us that we're in the genus Scorpius. Okay, so we're in the genus Scorpius, so this is some kind of species of Scorpius. And in fact, let me see, I think that's the next key. Yeah, fortunately, I didn't have this arranged incorrectly. So the genus Scorpius, and so we would do the same thing. We would do this dichotomous key down through here to find out the species. Um, and so here we have Envelocral Bract. Okay, so Envelocral Bract, so this is going to be, so it's one and appearing as an extension of the stem, or, we come to the other number one, 2 to 8 leaf-like, and the inflorescence appears like it's terminal. So if you remember, probably don't remember, this is my minor detail in the overview video, but when I was talking about, I had the stalk of the thing, and then I picked up the plastic bag, and I said, and what it looked like out there was, this was at the tip of this, yeah, and it had leafy bracts underneath it. So it's actually, and in fact, you may be able to see a little bit kind of off to the side of this thing in the background. This is actually a picture of this same plant in the background here. You may be able to see a little bit of that back there. There's some leafy bracts that are here and coming off of one of these. I'm not sure where the edge of the video is recording over here, but I think you can see them here. And this looks like it's a terminal inflorescence. Terminal inflorescence. So it's an inflorescence at the tip or the apex of the stem. So it's the second of these number ones. Next, spikelets in dense spherical heads, or the spikelets not in dense spherical heads. So these are, again, individual spikelets, and they're not in like a round head-like thing. They're somewhat sort of diffuse and loosely spreading. All right, so it's going to be the second, number 10 on this. The spikelet large, 1 to 3 centimeters long or longer. Okay. I'm going to grab a ruler. We'll measure one of these things. So you always have to have one or more rulers handy when you're doing these things, until you get to the point where you can look at things and you go like, oh yeah, I'm looking at that, and it looks to me like those things that are on there, maybe, I don't know, I would guess 3 to maybe 5 millimeters at the longest. You know, if you were like really good at this sort of thing and you could guess like that. So we put these things on here, and you're going to be like, if it comes out 3 to 5, you're going to go, he already measured those things, right? Okay, so my millimeter scale. Let's scoot this over here without creating a disaster. So each one of those marks is a millimeter. So the top one up here is 1, 2, 3, 3.5 or 4. We look at the next one down here. Okay, so it looks like I'm close to the end. 1, 2, 3. Wait, that's 3, 4. So that's between 3.5 and 4. If I can get down to this last one, it's going to be so difficult. All right, so 1, 2, 3. So this one's between. So they're all between 3 and 4 millimeters. Like I said, so after you do this a while, measure a lot of these things, you get pretty decent at estimating millimeter measurements. Okay, so we come back in here, and where were we? So the spikelet large, 1 to 3 centimeters long. So that's about almost 10 times as long as the ones we have. So it's not that. Spikelet small, 0.3 to 1 centimeters, which is 3 millimeters, up to 10 millimeters long. That's definitely us. Number 12, Perianth bristles, long and curly, very much extruded from the spikelet scales and giving the spikelet a markedly woolly appearance. That should sound familiar, like that. And that is going to be, verse number 12, Scorpius cyperinus. Okay. Scorpius cyperinus. And so that's what the achenes and the bristles should look like. And there you go right there. And then we had some of the bracts earlier when we were zoomed in, but this is what they basically look like, and then, is this what the flower, the inflorescence look like? Well, you can see one off to the side here, definitely what those look like. So that's why you do that. All right, it's kind of a long process. So we went through, we took one video, it was about a 20-minute video, and went through all of everybody and narrowed it down to the sedge family. Then we come into the sedge family. We've got another 20-minute video where we worked through the sedge family. We found the genus Scorpius, and then we work through the genus Scorpius, and we figure out that it's Scorpius cyprinus. And I think one of the common names is wool grass, WOOL grass, GRASS. Wool grass is one of the common names for this. It's a really common species. You see growing like all over the place on roadside ditches, edges of wetlands. I see it really commonly right now being the 2nd of September. So it's a really common species, but that's how you do that. That's how you work through one of these keys. And so now that we've already gone through kind of how to get to the sedge family, how to go through the sedge family to find a genus, we've figured out a species. So the next video that I'll do on the sedges is just going to be I'll show the family because there's only one step to get to this genus. It was kind of again, spoiler alert, you may be able to figure out what genus we're working in, but we'll work through that genus and see if we can figure out another one in the sedge family in the next video.